Hello everyone, Richard Fredrickson here with Profiles, and we have taken the 295 bus to downtown Joliet, and we are here today with interim city manager Jim Hock. And stay with us, and if you'd like to, you can go to YouTube next week. I think it's going to be on YouTube next week, and we're here on Channel 6, of course, as well. First of all, welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Jim Hock. If you're new to Joliet or new to the area, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but he has been here before. And so the old saying is this is not his first rodeo. So again, I welcome you back to Joliet. Thank you for coming back, by the way, as well. Now your contract, if I'm understanding it correctly, for you to be the interim manager is for how long?
Well, it's for a minimum of 3 months. Right now, Slavin Recruiters, the consulting firm, is recruiting for a city manager. September 30th is the deadline date. So there's vetting process, offering up candidates to council, them vetting it, deciding who to interview, selecting a candidate, selecting a start date. So it's probably going to be at a minimum the end of the calendar year. And then there's a clause that just says giving each other a 6-day notice. The point being, once I know the start date of a new city manager, then I know when my last day will be.
Okay. Any exceptions to that?
I hope not.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any part at all in the selection process?
Well, I did offer my insights if City Council wants me to participate in any way. I would not ask questions in an interview. I might sit through them and give my opinion, but I don't want to step on the toes of the consulting firm and or give undue influence to the council, because they're the ones that have to decide and live with their decision.
Are you aware of this consulting firm? I mean,
I've heard of
a
them.
Well-known firm?
Yeah, it's one of there's only about a half a dozen firms in the country that focus on municipal executive jobs.
So at the taping, you just finished what, your second city council meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like for Jim Hock to sit down at that dais on the first council meeting, on your first day there? What was it like? What were you thinking on that first meeting?
Well, each city manager has their own style, and for me it was like putting on an old pair of worn-in shoes. I felt very comfortable. Kind of went back to the style that I have for the pre-council meeting and the council meeting, and I think the mayor and members of council, having worked with me for over 3 years, felt comfortable as well.
The city of Joliet has about 149,000, I guess, to be exact, residents, depending on what happens with this census here that's going on currently. We'll see what happens with the population. But what's the past history of city managers here? When did that all start? Do you recall?
I think it was the mid-40s, 1945, I think I read, when it first started, which was really mid-30s across the country that it became the preferred form of government, because elected officials don't really have experience in running a city and understanding police departments, fire departments, public works. The idea was that somebody familiar with those kinds of operations would be better at it than somebody who walks in elected mayor at age 30 or age 50, never having that kind of experience, would be better suited and help guide the elected officials in their decision making.
city manager form of government is, like cities like Chicago, Detroit, New York, they don't, that's the mayor and whatever they call it, a committee, a board, a council. They must have advisors then, because if you're a newly elected mayor, you don't have that experience to do that,
True.
True. What about Jim Hock? This is not, as I mentioned earlier, not your first rodeo. Before you went to Pure, Michigan, how many other positions have you had through the years as city manager?
Well, I was city manager I started out in a building and planning department for a township.
Okay.
Got my master's degree in public administration, and then became manager of a small town of 2,500 in my first job. From there I moved up to a city of 130,000 as assistant city manager for about 10 years, and then assistant city manager again in another city in suburban Detroit before coming to Park Ridge here in
Sure.
Chicago area, and then Joliet.
Okay, so now here's the beginning of the test. Okay, see how well you've looked at the seed here at Joliet. Projects. How about that Rock Run Crossing project? They talked about that for years. The Cullinan people are involved in that. Where is that? What's the update on that project?
Well, I joked with the Cullinan people on our first phone call, because I've been gone for 3 years, and I said, "How come you're not done?" But a lot of it has to do with funding, and we just got a build grant through the federal Department of Transportation for $20 million. So that's going to give some momentum to the project at this point. Right now, our consultant is looking at the financial feasibility of the entire thing. The idea is to establish a TIF where the tax income generated from the development on the property pays off bonds for those infrastructure improvements. So before the city goes and issues a bond, we want to know that the development is going to raise enough money to pay that debt, because the general fund shouldn't be paying any of that debt whatsoever.
Speaking of projects and a phone call, your second phone call was, "How come you're not done?" And that is the Hobart Bridge over the Des Plaines River.
Right. Well, there's a lot of projects that were going on when I retired, but I'm happy to see that projects like the museum taking over the prison has evolved to where it is today, that the train station, the new train station is open.
And beautiful.
It is. That Chicago Street connection next to the old courthouse will be completed by the end of October and open up the street.
He said that now. By the end of October.
By the end of October.
I'm going to leave this interview room and I'm going to go downtown Joliet to the businesses until end of October. Go ahead.
That's right. While you're down there, tell the guys building the intersection too.
Yeah, right. So here's a little, it's going to educate us a little bit here as we watch either on cable or, well, today we're watching on cable. We're not going down. There are people who go down there, but they're down there for other reasons. They're already calling me about asking me a question here. Okay. They want to know about the recapture agreement between you, the city of Joliet, and Love's Travel Stops, and is it called Country Stores? Is that the long official name?
Yes.
What's a recapture agreement?
A recapture agreement is where the developer pays for the infrastructure improvements. In this case, Love's has to extend water and sewer lines in front of 45 other properties before it even gets to their property. So each one of those properties will now become more desirable for development, and everybody pays a tap-in fee to the city. So what they pay to the city for that tap-in will be reimbursed or refunded to Love's for the $2.5 million that they're going to spend on that water and sewer line to get to their development. In addition, a portion of the gasoline tax, 40% of the gas tax, will be refunded to them towards that $2.5 million. And it's a maximum of 10 years. If they reach it before then, great. Then the city keeps everything after that. If they don't reach it, they can come back and ask the city for a longer term, or the city can say, nope, we're done.
Yeah.
It ends.
I can't imagine with the reputation that they have that they don't get that probably taken care of within half a dozen years. I mean, the traffic
Yeah.
count on I-80 there is just phenomenal, and they can do extremely well. Does that mean by having Love's there, obviously for the truckers and cars and everything, but that's probably also a incubator for additional businesses in that area?
That's right. Again, because water and sewer is now available,
Right.
other businesses will see the amount of traffic that Love's generates and see that as a desirable place to build
Yeah.
themselves.
So that's the east side of Joliet.
Yes.
And for years, people were always saying, you know, there's not a lot of development, not a lot of focus, not enough attention to the east side of Joliet. While you were in pure Michigan, outboard motor, fishing, having a wonderful time, we have a new gas station on Collins Street, Thornton's, and by the way, it's beautiful. The plantings and landscaping is great. We moved a historic home to another location, and that was a good move. But there are developments on the east side. Can you speak to some of them that are either in the future or that are going on currently?
Well, I do know that there's a grocery store, I believe, occupying an existing space over there. I don't know exactly where it is or how far along that is in the conversation, but I know there's a commitment to that. So
That's an ongoing commitment for that location and for that store. But truly, with what's happening with developments, I know that the Center of Economic Development has received a lot of calls. They're busy. Things are, you can't see it, but there's a lot of people who are interested in Joliet.
Yes.
You get those phone calls?
Yeah. I don't, but I know that our economic development specialist is getting a lot of phone calls and having a lot of conversations about the downtown and other areas around the city.
Right.
And it's I'm excited that that's happening right now with the COVID times,
Right.
things being shut down and just reopening recently. Because we dropped our level, allowing indoor dining at restaurants and so forth. So
Things were really going prior to the virus. I mean, Joliet was in just perfect position. Things were happening, and hopefully we can start that back up. Speaking of downtown, Jim, the AT&T building,
yes,
can you give us a little update on what's happening over there? Things are taking place on the exterior. Anyway.
yes, yeah. There's interior and exterior renovations going on. Permits been issued. Construction's begun. It'll be office space, as we understand it. The property did come up to auction, and a Chicago developer took possession, and they're well on their way.
Good. It's good that when you think about it, a Chicago developer, that there are developers looking at Joliet, looking at Will County,
Right.
because of where it's located and what's happening with the logistics and other areas that are contentious, but nevertheless
Right.
happening. Let's go over on the west side for a while. When this program is aired, according to the weather prognosticators, it's going to be raining. And the Mirage subdivision, it's not like weather reports about rain. Are you familiar with the Mirage subdivision?
Yeah, there's some flooding
Yeah.
going on in the area there, but I do believe the builder, the developer there is going to take care of those issues.
Yeah, there's some road drainage that needs
Yes.
to be done
Right.
over there. When you left to retire to the good life, and as I said before, pure Michigan, what was the hot topic during those last few council meetings that you were involved with? What was going on for the manager and the council back 3 years ago?
Well, the downtown was always the focus. We had a potential developer for redevelopment of the Plaza Hotel, which I understand has contacted us again recently for redeveloping that into apartments. But the biggest issue at the time I departed was taking possession of the prison from the state, entering into a lease agreement. So it was getting the museum board and city council all together and coming to an agreement to enter a long-term lease with the state.
Yeah.
So
Great success.
I think
Phenomenal
so.
success.
Yeah.
That's when you can,
I
check
was
off your
I
list.
was elated when I saw that they sold out the outdoor movie.
Wasn't that
the
great?
Blues
Yeah.
Brothers, yeah.
you know,
Raised
they're risk takers,
$25,000.
and they've proven to be very successful. We hope that 2021 is going to be a phenomenal year for them. I was going to ask you another question about the downtown area, and it just left my mind. Oh, I know what it is. The courthouse.
Yes.
Soon, in fact, it may be just days away by the time you watch this interview. What effect, if any, is that going to have in downtown Joliet?
Well, actually, I was coming back. I was very surprised that there weren't more restaurants right across the street. There's still a vacancy there.
Yep.
And I know the old courthouse is being used, but I think there will be more people in the downtown, and it'll generate more interest in the downtown as well. We are looking at almost $9 million in federal funding becoming available for totally redoing the rest of Chicago Street as you head north there. Now, that won't be able to pay for any redevelopment of the plaza, but it will do all streetscaping and roadway improvements in that area. And as you can see right now, NICOR came in and did horizontal boring there and made a terrible
Yes.
mess of the street.
That
So,
continues to be a challenge for our
Yeah.
businesses in downtown, as they
the,
seem to be everywhere, chopping holes
the other
down.
thing I want to mention is that we are moving forward, going to bids on the new Pace station,
Ah.
kitty corner from the train station. And their garage is just to the south.
Right.
Right now, they are being staged right across from that
Right.
AT&T building,
Right.
right there. But and we anticipate that project is going to be complete by summer, next
That'd be
summer.
great, because there's no real shelter over there for people waiting for the
Right,
buses.
right.
So it'd be great to have that up and going. There was a significant, I think it was back, well, long before 3 years ago, but it's more prevalent now, and I know that there's been meetings, but what is the current update on the water situation for Joliet? Chicago, or is it going to be Indiana? Any more progress on that?
Right now, there's financial feasibility of both options. We have an agreement with Hammond, Indiana, to be able to get Lake Michigan access there. and pipe it from there. And if we did that, it would be raw lake water till you get to the east side of Joliet, where we would have a water treatment plant there for then distribution. If we tie into Chicago, it would be further north. And in both cases, it would be, you think that right-of-way acquisition oftentimes takes years and years, but they've have routes with ComEd and the tollway, so it's relatively easy in terms of acquiring easements for these lines. But if we got it from Chicago, it would already be treated and, brought right to Joliet.
Is there a big difference in the rates, the fees? I would suppose there
That's
would
what they're studying right now,
Okay.
to be able to present that to City Council.
You mentioned earlier, we both mentioned earlier, COVID-19 and the pandemic. What effect has that had on the city of Joliet, on the operation, of the actual administration of the city of Joliet?
Well, we do have a number of employees working from home, tying into our computer system, being able to do but there are only certain jobs you can do from home. You can't do storm cleanup.
No.
So police, fire, public works have all been still working. We continually monitor. Excuse me. The immediate care facility now has 15-minute results on COVID-19. So any employee who has any symptoms can go over there and get immediate results.
Been a lot of outflow of greenbacks from the city of Joliet for a
Yes.
number of reasons.
Yeah.
What does it look like, if you can share it?
Sure.
The 2020 and 2021 budget. Are we going to be okay? Do we have to go to some loan shark and get our money?
Well, obviously revenues have decreased because of sales tax. Excuse me. Casino revenues are down quite a bit because of the limitations and the number of people that are even allowed in the building. However, the Federal CARES Fund is going to reimburse police and fire payroll and benefits up to $5.7 million. And then there's another $400,000 from the state that potentially we can access. And there's talk that FEMA would even be able to reimburse a percentage of our certain expenses as well. Now, you say, well, great, that's a lot of money, but that still leaves us, $8 to $10 million in the hole for this year. And so Council will probably be approving the budget at the last meeting in the calendar year because we want to have up-to-date information
Right.
as accurate as possible on our revenue projections.
So is there anything on your notes there that we haven't covered that you'd like to share with the folks?
Well, I just want to mention a lot of projects have been stalled out because of the COVID-19. Marriott's going into the Barrett's hardware building.
Right.
And so Marriott notified us formally that all projects across the country, they've given their developers additional time. A lot of the construction people weren't working for a long time. I think they're back to work, as we can see from the construction of the court. But that'll be up to Marriott when they want to proceed. But we anticipate when things get back to normal, they'll proceed. John Bays is working on the Rialto 2 building, renovating some offices and the top 2 floors for apartments or condos, yep. Which is good to see. And we've also got the ever-expanding industrial corridor to the south end of the city. So.
See, I didn't want to touch on that one, but it really is an important part of Joliet.
It
and
is.
It will be
It is.
a great sales tax someday.
And sooner than later, we'll be doing a ribbon cutting for the Hobart Bridge there, and that will take a lot of the truck traffic off of the local streets down there.
Yeah. A lot of good things happening, and you need to know that, Joliet folks, that city's working, the county's working, things are happening. Joliet is positioned to really start to have some really interesting things happening in 2021. We've had an interesting year. We welcome you back. Hopefully you found some place to, that little tent you have out there at Pilcher Park. I mean, you got to get some other place to reside, unless you're commuting back and forth. Jim, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For taking time out. Busy guy, good guy. To me, he brings some, reserve and professionalism to the city manager's position here in the city of Joliet. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time here on Profiles.